As I say, you're headed back in the right direction. Give us a sense of that trajectory. How fast are you coming back, and how long will it take? Like the kid in the back of the car, when are we going to be there?
Well, David, good morning. First of all, we've all been through a lot over the last 6 months as this global pandemic has unfolded around the world. And, certainly at Starbucks, we set three simple principles to guide our decisions. The first is to prioritize the health and well-being of our Starbucks partners and the customers we serve. Second is to support government, local health officials as they work to contain the virus. And third is to show up in a positive and responsible way in the communities that we serve. So as you recall, in the month of April, we closed all our stores in the U.S. with the exception of drive-thrus so that we could provide a safe experience for our partners and our customers. In doing that, we also provided economic certainty to our partners, and we paid them, even if they were staying at home and not working. And that, in addition to serving the frontline healthcare workers free coffee, those are things that we think are good long-term investments because they built trust. They built trust with our partners, trust with our customers, and trust with the communities we serve. And as we began to reopen stores, we've been, clearly driving our recovery, and we saw that accelerate throughout the month. And certainly, what customers are looking for right now, David, are experiences that are safe, familiar, and convenient. And so we sort of have optimized in the ability for us to provide those, whether it's through drive-through, for mobile order for pickup, delivery, and now we're introducing curbside service. And so, we continue to see this recovery unfolding, and we're in a good position now to drive this recovery on a global basis.
Exactly right. The numbers reflected that, but I still want to be the kid in the back of the car about when we're going to get there. And obviously, the virus itself gets a vote, but if things keep going the way they're going, let's go forward. March 31, 2021. Do you think you'll be on a pace to equal what you were before the pandemic?
Well, what we said yesterday on the call was that, in the United States, that we saw what we called substantially recovered as being back to where our same store comparables were a year ago, and that would happen, sort of in the first half of our fiscal year 21, which would be, by March of 2021. In China, it's a quarter earlier, and so. This path won't be linear, but every month we've seen continued improvement. And in fact, in the month of July in the U.S., I think we had a minus 19% same store comparable. July, that accelerated to a minus 14%. And so as we do new things, like we're introducing curbside service in 700 to 1,000 stores by the end of this quarter, all of those things are helping us give more throughput and capacity for these safe, familiar, and convenient experiences. And that's going to drive this recovery.
So you obviously have been in China a very long time. As you say, China's a little bit ahead of the United States in terms of recovery. But taking a look at those two, in the United States, we have some flare-ups here in some states, more than what we've seen really in China. What is the threat to Starbucks recovery from things like what's going on in California, in Texas, in Florida, in Arizona?
Well, I'll point out that China has also had that. You look at Beijing, several weeks ago had a similar flare-up. And so, what we have done, David, is we have built store protocols and the operating capabilities for us to carefully dial up the experiences we open up for customers, like limited seating or seating in our cafes, or dial it back if we need to dial back in a certain market for a period of time while the mitigation is taking place. We're able to do that on a store-by-store basis. And so, what we've done is we've now built those store protocols and that operating capability into the fabric of how we run the company. And that allows us, if there's a flare-up in Miami, for example, we can turn the dial back slightly, still stay open, still serve customers safely, but we can constrain some things. And as the curve flattens and improves, we can dial back up. And so we're doing that in 32,000 stores around the world, and it's working. And so I'm confident, we've built the capability to navigate in a COVID world until there's a vaccine and more therapeutics and we get through this. And we've done all of that in the last 3 to 4 months, and we've done it in over 82 markets around the world.
Kevin, you mentioned drive-thrus. You're building a lot of drive-thrus and also curbside delivery, things like that. Are we witnessing perhaps a longer-term strategic pivot by Starbucks away from the so-called third place where you go and you gather there like a cafe, as opposed to something you just pick it up and go on?
Yeah, David, I don't see this as a strategic pivot away from the third place experience where people want to come sit in Starbucks and be part of a community. I see what we're doing as complementary to that. And if you look at pre-COVID, in fact, roughly 80% of our customer occasions before COVID were for customers who wanted to their food and beverage to go. And so 20% would stay and sit in the cafe. And so what we're doing is we're basically complementing that third place experience with things, we did it 7-8 years ago with drive-through. We did it about 5 or 6 years ago with mobile order for pickup. And now what we're doing is building a smaller format of a store called Starbucks Pickup. In China, it's called Starbucks Now. And these smaller format of stores, you can think about them in an urban core market as a walkthrough. Similar to in suburban market where we have drive-throughs, these Starbucks pickup stores are walkthroughs. Now, every Starbucks pickup store ideally would be within a 3 to 5 minute walk of a traditional Starbucks store that has seating and a cafe. And so you as a customer can decide if this is an occasion I want to share my food and beverage with a colleague or friend and sit in the Starbucks, you can do that. If you're on the go and you want a convenient, safe, convenient, familiar experience, you can go through the pickup store. So we're blending these store formats to create a network effect. And those store formats basically are just serving the different need states that our customers have of Starbucks. So it's not a pivot away from it. I view it completely complementary to the third place experience.
Kevin, are you seeing a change in the pattern of when people come to Starbucks and what they get at Starbucks? Because in the good old days, we would go into an office. A lot of people are working from home now. It doesn't look like they're going to go back right away. I mean, right here at Bloomberg, there's a Starbucks just downstairs. You might grab one on the way into the office. We don't have as many people working here anymore. Is that changing your business model?
It has changed customer behavior. It has changed the pattern. For example, the morning peak in the United States, really a lot of that was when people are on their way to work or to school, they'll stop by Starbucks on their way in. And so as people are working from home during this period, or as schools are closed and students are schooling from home, what we've seen is, we're still seeing continued improvement in our morning peak, but we're seeing some of those customer occasions shift to a little bit later in the morning. Instead of maybe 7:30 to 9 a.m., they might shift to 10:30 a.m. And then we're also seeing those same customers have multiple visits in the day. They might come in and get their beverage at 10:30. They might come back at 2 p.m. in the afternoon for an afternoon occasion. So these are all the things that we monitor around our customers' behavior. And that really was what has informed us on the strategic initiatives that we're implementing to really future-proof the company. And so, we're watching that very closely and we're adapting very rapidly. And that's what's helping fuel the recovery. And it's also helping us position for the long-term initiatives that we're driving.
Is there an upside in there somewhere where you might offer different sorts of things you hadn't before because of COVID-19, different drinks, different foods?
Well, I think the priority and the focus that we have on our beverage and food, much of that links to our Planet Positive agenda, our environmental sustainability agenda. So you see us introducing more beverage and food items that are plant-based, whether it's Oatly and the oat milk, or it's the Impossible sausage breakfast sandwich in the U.S., Beyond Meats in China and Canada. But one thing we are seeing as well is we're seeing a significantly higher ticket. And because people are working from home and not, so much on a hurry, they're buying for the entire family. So, where we've seen some decline in transactions, we're actually seeing a lot of that made up by a bigger ticket. And I think that's a very positive trend.